Hello again, everybody. Welcome to SC Playbook, the EPL edition. We are finally turning the corner this week. We are at the halfway mark, game week 19, coming up to welcome in the new year. My name's Alex Molchanoff. I sat here with 162 points alongside Steve Nikolowski last week. I'm sitting here today with no trades made at 46 the week after the fun of Supercoach, and that's why we are welcoming in the big wig, the big dog at SC Playbook. Tim Williams is alongside us. He's just outside the top 500. Thank you for joining us this week, Timmy.
Yeah, good to be here, mate. And look, you've had obviously got Ballon d'Or judges on this show, former Socceroos, experts like yourself. But we thought we'd get in one of the big dogs in myself, just a seasoned Supercoach campaigner, just to try and bring some respectability to this show over the Christmas period, mate. So good to be along, and thanks for having me.
You're killing us in terms of the rankings in the little mini league we got going, mate. You are absolutely flying. So system player, I'll tell you what, it works wonders, particularly in what is this massive marathon of Supercoach. So we're going to have two records for you this week with the two game weeks over Christmas and New Year. Matty Yerman will be back with us on Friday the 2nd, a little mini pod, SC Playbook on X, Instagram, Facebook, where to find us. And a reminder, the SC Playbook League still open. $1,000 first prize if you're a subscriber. And to become a subscriber, just $2 a week, head to scplaybook.com.au. There's more good stuff coming up from Harry West, Steve Nikolowski, myself. $2 a week. The WhatsApp group's there. That's going absolute gangbusters at this time of year, Timmy, with all the availabilities, all the rotations that are happening. It's been quite a time of the year to follow the English Premier League.
It is, mate. Yeah, there's plenty going on, and good plug as well. You do it very well, mate. Very natural, probably better than I do. But on top of that, mate, guys, if you're into your NBA, your NFL's got about 1 or 2 weeks left, so probably don't worry about that one too much. The NRL stuff's ramping up. Every sport covered. So, but yeah, look, Maestro's got you.
Yeah, we're all over it. So the 46 points, Timmy, I didn't have a player that scored double figures this week. Rice, 7. Haaland, the captain, 3. David Raya copped a goal against Brighton for Arsenal. It was just a bit of a war zone out there. How did you pull up, given that most of the big names didn't perform? Were you an Ekitike holder? And even better, were you an Ekitike captainer?
Yeah, I was, mate. 106 points. So I'm up into 540th overall. As I said, I'm absolutely not an EPL expert. I love my EPL. I've grown up with it for a long time. But I'm certainly not in the caliber of knowledge of the boys that are normally on this panel. But yeah, a good week. I got Ekitike in for Mo Salah. I'm a Liverpool supporter, so I held Salah for, I was going to say a week too long, about 12 weeks too long. So being a little bit passionate there, but I had a good week. I had Vardiol with 18 points. I had Odegaard for 18 and I played him, which was nice. Saka somehow got 17 with only an assist. So that was a good one. I actually played a player down as well because I had Calafiori who was out. I had Grealish who was out. And, mate, I said when this EPL Supercoach campaign kicked off that I wouldn't be setting alarms for vice-captain loops and checking things. And you best believe that at 1:45am the other morning when Haaland was on 3 with about 5 minutes to go, my alarm went off and I made sure that I had the Ekitike captain. So when you're doing all right, you've got to make these sacrifices.
You certainly do. I was part of that Calafiori little inquest there, named in the initial team to take on Brighton over the weekend and then pulled out during the warm-up. So we'll continue to wait for news there. We're still sitting here on Tuesday morning as we record this, hoping that Mikel Arteta gives us something, but I think he might be starting on a lot of benches this week or potentially used as a loop option. We'll get into that as we're going down the list. But Timmy, do you want to jump straight into, or do you want me to get into the rest period run through and what's happening? Because Harry West's written a very good article on this week. He's sort of gone through, you can find this at scplaybook.com.au under the EPL tab. He's gone through each team and basically they're most likely and least likely to rest on the back of 2-day turnarounds over the next 3 game weeks. So the disaster class are falling down the bottom. Fortunately, not too many highly owned players across these teams. Brentford are a watch. Manchester City, the main one to worry about there. And Spurs are the other one, although most have moved away from them over the last month or so, given their fall-off in form. Are you an owner there that's looking to worrying around any Manchester City types particularly?
Yes, I am. And this is where I'm sort of focusing on. I've done pretty well on the trade front. So I've got, I think, 24 trades coming into this week. So I've been pretty conservative there. But, I mean, like everyone, I'm a Haaland owner, a Foden owner, a Gvardiol owner. Cherki's another one who's popular this week. I don't want to overstack on City. We know that in the past, especially obviously fancy Premier League players, that rotation risk has been so big with City and they've been hard to catch. With all these games coming up, you'd think that they'll start to have a bit more rotations in there. So I'm going to avoid adding a fourth, but what I am doing, mate, is because I've got a few trades in the bank, I've got a lot of money in the bank as well. Just like I've had a few blokes I've cashed out at good times, like Thiago. I mean, we're all Fernandes owners, and I've got 18 million to play with there. So there's good cash in bank. So I'm just trying to get rid of some of the injured players in my squad and the dead wood to make sure that when there is inevitable restings that you're covered and you've got the right formations in place to cover it all.
Yeah, it really is a balancing act at this time of year. I'm only 2 in on City at the moment with Foden and Haaland. I think they're pretty low rotation risk. I'd actually say Gvardiol is probably even lower than those two, given the form that he and Diaz have been in at the back since that crazy 5-4 game they had against Fulham. Those two have been basically locks for Pep Guardiola, which is unusual. I would urge caution on Cherki, and I know we're going to get into sort of the top trade-ins. He is a popular option this week. I just urge a little bit of wherewithal there, because I think Foden's the one that'll be more likely to play through this round of fixtures, but I'd be very surprised if both of them don't get a rest at some stage. I think Haaland and the two centre-backs are the only two that'll be carried by Pep through the entirety of this little run. The one crunch team, so these are the teams with 1 2-game turnaround. Chelsea, I think most people have dropped right off them in the last few weeks. Newcastle, the other big watch. And then you've got Everton, Fulham, Leeds United, and Nottingham Forest. I'm still a Nick Voltemada owner. Have you got any Chelsea assets in there, Timmy?
I actually don't, mate. I've had a few of them at different stages. I had Caicedo in there, João Pedro. And I will preface by saying that, as I said, guys, I'm a Supercoach expert. I'm not an EPL expert. So if I have any poor pronunciations, and I will, Maestro.
You've done pretty well there. You've done pretty well there, Tim.
Yeah, I just fake it till I make it with some of these pronunciations, and I act confident. And then people go, "Oh, is that how you pronounce it?" No. But at the moment, I own no Chelsea assets. Obviously, have gone through a little bit of a tough run, so none at the moment. And with the concerns around restings, I'm pretty happy to keep it that way. I did start the season with things have gone pretty well for me for the most part of the season. I took a gamble on Reece James at the start of the year because I love the bloke as a super coach and a fantasy asset. And obviously with his injury history, people were scared off, and he had a game there where he played a handful of minutes, maybe 2 weeks in a row, so I cut him. He's been nothing but fantastic ever since. I really want to get him back in, but everyone has those super coach and the fancy players that they just cannot catch. And for me, it's Reece James. So I don't want to risk bringing him in and busting him for everyone else.
No, and I tend to agree. I just think, again, another popular option this week. He's a guy whose body has let him down consistently. He's been an England player at different times. It just cannot stay fit. So let's hope that changes for his sake and for Chelsea's sake towards the end of the year. But I again, from a Supercoach perspective, until you can see things turning there, hold off. Newcastle, I've got Voltemada in there. Have you moved anyone other than that into your side, Timmy?
No, I had was it? I always get these bloody Newcastle defenders confused between Burn and Hall and all this mob. But yes. I did have Burn, and he's actually coming out of my team this week. Obviously injured. He's been sitting there for a few weeks. Haven't had an urge to sort of move him on with other things going on, but he's my only Newcastle asset, so pretty good on that front as well.
Pretty straightforward. And then the least likely, the clean schedule crew, we'll talk about Aston Villa a little bit later because I've got a bit of a conundrum around Morgan Rogers. They've got a terrible run of fixtures, but no 2-game turnarounds, which is nice. Arsenal sitting there, least likely supposedly to rotate. I don't think that'll happen in reality. I think there's going to be a fair bit of that for Mikel Arteta over this run. Bournemouth, absolute rabble at the moment. I'm moving all my Bournemouth assets out as we speak. Marco Senesi will be featuring in the trade segment this week. Liverpool and Manchester United, the other two big watches there. Tim, is there anyone you're too worried about in terms of players from those four teams?
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to get to the players, and the clubs that I'm a little bit concerned about. Like, I've been very heavy on Arsenal for a long time, and I've had sort of pretty well, Raya. I've had Raya since round one with the great Tyra, the Everton backup goalkeeper, who's probably in another country at the moment on loan somewhere, I'd imagine. Not concerned, but he's done a wonderful job for looping purposes. But I've basically had, double defence as well for Arsenal all season. They've obviously just been sublime. So Calafiori there, he's one who's obviously a big watch this week. As you mentioned, I've got Rice, I've got Odegaard, and I've got Saka. So, yes, concern over Arsenal, but that's where I'm just going to try and ensure that I've got a full squad of active players, that if there are restings, that my AE can come in their place.
Yeah, I tend to agree there. And I think with Arsenal, it's going to be difficult to really catch. As we saw, the Calafiori change comes out of nowhere. I have no idea how Mikel Arteta is going to sort of reintegrate Gabriel back into the team. He's set to lose a lot of cash over the next couple of weeks. So I think we're safe to hold off there and have a look at how he's being used before moving for him, perhaps upgrading Saliba, making a move like that if you're an owner, or even a Gabriel's
got a break even of 34, obviously off that injury and getting eased back into minutes. So, mate, when he bottoms out, whenever that might be, but you'd imagine he'd be eased back in with limited minutes, especially with all the defensive options at Arsenal. So, mate, we could get him at sub 10 million pretty easily in the next, hopefully once things calm down a little bit, pending, what they're doing in Europe and all these sorts of different competitions. But, mate, he's going to be a steal at some point for us.
He's every Supercoach player smiling hearing that news. There's no doubt about that. Do you want to take us to the break-evens, Timmy, and we'll get ripping into those?
Yeah, I do, mate. So what we're going to do, going to put the shoe on the other foot today, mate. As I said, I'm by no means a Supercoach expert. Sorry, I'm a Supercoach expert.
You are a Supercoach expert, very much so.
I am a Supercoach expert. And look, if I was ranked poorly, I'd question that. But when I'm doing well in NBA and EPL and all these, NBA I've got no idea about, and I'm about 1,000th there as well. So I know it's not because of my knowledge, it's because I know how to rotate and work around Supercoach. So you are though, mate. So what we're going to do today, I'm essentially going to take over from here and throw all the questions at you. And they will be very biased and very tailored towards my needs. So how do you feel about that?
I'm ready to go, Tim. This is what it's all about, mate. Let's go.
All right. So starting with the break-evens, and we'll go straight to the top. It was Patrick Dorgu at Manchester United, a negative 25 break-even, defender 7.2 million, coming off a 30 and a 17. Like, he scored last week. He had an assist the week prior. He's as close to a lock as you can get, mate, for me, coming up against the Wolves. He's set to earn like $2, $3, $4 million in the space of a week or two, and that could just go up and up and up. He said it's great fixtures to come. They have Leeds the following week into Burnley. My only question for you, is there any minute risk? Because he's obviously played 90 back-to-back, but before that, there were game time of 8, 15, 28, 1, 58. So talk to us there.
Well, he's no risk of being rotated, Timmy, because they're so light on in his position at the moment. They've got injuries. He started in the position that Brian Mbeumo usually takes on. So he was actually playing up front against Newcastle. So he's versatile as well. They might use him as a fullback. They might use him as a wing-back, as they have done in the 5 when they've played that way under Ruben Amorim, which I've been critical of at different times. But he's no risk of rotation, mate. He'll be playing each of the 3 games, barring injury, against Wolves, Leeds and Burnley. And as we talked about with Gabriel perhaps bottoming out, he's a brilliant sideways move for so many defenders at the moment. If you've got the cash to upgrade or move sideways from Urian Timber, if you're worried about Calafiori and you don't want to go that way, if you've got sort of hanging over Bournemouth assets, there is a perfect sideways move to just build that bank a little bit, take your 3 mil, and you might be able to go 1-for-1 with him and Gabriel. So I think he's a perfect option for where so many players are sitting at this stage in the year. Yeah,
obviously the game can change pretty quickly, but with the run of games to come, they have in week 22 City into Arsenal. So I reckon by sort of week 22, Dorgu should be 11, 12 million plus. Things can change very quickly. We know that one poor score and that all flatlines. And pending his role in the team and what position he's actually playing week to week, a move from Dorgu to Gabriel, it should actually net you maybe $1 or $2 million, pending how things play out. So that looks an absolute lock for me. Mate, the other key ones on this list, Kevin Shard from Brentford, negative 16 break-even. Lewis Potter, also Brentford, negative 11 break-even. Adingra, there's a throwback to round one. I started the season with him, and I think he was absolutely robbed of an assist in round one, and I may or may not have played him. I can't remember, but I was filthy about it. Anyway, cut ties a long time ago, but Adingra at Sunderland, -10. Archie Gray at the Spurs, -10. Wirtz finally got on the score sheet for Liverpool, -9. Mate, anyone else there who is on your radar or should be on the radar of other super coaches this week?
Look, I actually, this is going to bring back some post-traumatic stress disorder for some players, but Florian Wirtz is the pick out of those guys. Playing alongside now Hugo Ekitike, without Mohamed Salah there, with Liverpool seemingly finding their feet. They're 10 points off the top of the league. And his performances, although his Supercoach output hasn't exactly exploded, he's now sitting on a negative break-even, as you've told us, Timmy. And, he just looks a bit more of a confident player. He's always had the running game and sort of starting off attacks, but now he seems to be getting on the end of them a little bit more as well. And Liverpool's fixture out of those teams, they got 2 games that are very, very winnable against Leeds at home, Fulham away. Then they run into Arsenal, yes, but then you go Burnley, Bournemouth, who have been terrible over the last month or so. So if you can eat that Arsenal fixture away from home, there's a good chance they pick up 4 from 4 there outside of that game, and he's going to be key through this run. Liverpool, without too many worries elsewhere in terms of European football and where they're sitting there, they're going to rotate through those competitions, and I think Wirtz is going to be a player that picks up more and more minutes as this season goes on. Particularly, I mean, his future is going to be interlinked with Salah somewhat. If Salah does end up moving on and is completely moved out of the team by Arne Slot, then his minutes are going to improve even further. And Slot is a fan of him regardless. So if the output can match what he started last week over the next couple, I'd expect him to pick up in value fairly quickly. He's in that forward position that I've talked about with Matty a lot. That's where you want to be targeting boom guys before they hit the top of their ceiling.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I'm still pretty scarred. We all are. I think we all started.
We all are. Don't worry.
Yeah. So it'll take a brave coach to jump back in, but as I said, you've listed all the reasons why you could jump on him. He's looking much better, much more comfortable in the Premier League. So look, at the price, now's the time, and you give it a week or two, the price will skyrocket with that break even. So I'd pay $7 million for him. I wouldn't be paying much more based on what's happened earlier on in the season. Now, anyone else on that negative break-even list that you wanted to touch on? Because there are a bunch of names there, mate, that I'm going to butcher and make myself look like an absolute fool. So I'm going to throw it to you, and if not, we'll go on to the highest break-evens of the week.
Well, have a look at Kevin Schade. I'd say I don't know if you want a sideways move from Thiago, because the role that they're playing together at the moment means Schade is going to be getting on the end of things basically until Django Ouattara comes back from AFCON. He's a -16. Brentford's run is not too bad with Tottenham at home, Everton away, Sunderland at home, and then Chelsea. So the next 3 weeks are the time to cash in. If you're looking to really build some value up front or move sideways from Thiago, I think Schade could be a move there. Other than that, Lewis Potter is back to sort of his regular position. The -11 is still attractive as a midfielder, no doubt. The others that you've mentioned there, Adingra, Archie Gray is off the back of one good performance for Tottenham. I'd be staying right away from him. I'd say the same for Adingra, throwback to the start of the season, taking on Manchester City this week. Ibrahim Sangare is an interesting one at Nottingham Forest. Not a move for me yet, but if their form continues, those assets could begin to build value nicely. They've got a pretty tricky run of next 4 fixtures over the next month, but then things start to ease off for them a little. Forest assets could be a target over the month of January, that's for sure.
All right, so keep an eye on Nottingham Forest. All right, mate, let's go to the highest break-evens. We won't spend too much time on them, but Gabriel at 34 break-even, as we mentioned earlier, he's going to come down in price beautifully for us. Soon enough, Phil Foden at 33. There is some, potentially bit of rotation risk as the schedule heats up and there's more and more fixtures for City. As it stands, mate, he's just a season-long hold, right?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. The way they're playing, the form he's in, the way he's combining with Haaland, Timmy, they're all massive ticks.
I also, I mentioned this when I did the earlier podcast with Stevie Nico, but mate, because I rarely get the opportunity to come on this podcast, and while I'm doing okay, I really need to plug everything good that I do. And I just need to shout out once again Morgan Gibbs-White, who
Yeah.
will go down as probably my trade of the season. I got him at about $5 million. All the contributors laughed at me, but I backed a resurgent Nottingham and Gibbs-White, and I sold him for about 11 mil or something stupid. So shout out to the great man himself. Mate, moving down the list, Malagusto, 33 break even. Christian Romero, 27, did not play. Harry Wilson, we're going to talk a little bit more about him later on with a break even of 25. Then Heck, 24 break even. Chalobah, 24, coming off a -1. Bruno's obviously injured. Eze injured. Mate, on this list, probably not too much to touch on. Jared Bowen's down there. He's with a 21 break-even, one that people have probably got a few decisions to come make around him this week, but he's at about $8 million. He's got Brighton this week. They're probably the major ones. Ruben Diaz for City as well. He's got a 19 break-even. Of the popular players of the guys mentioned, is there anyone you'd be looking to cut ties with there at the high break-even, or are the majority of them holds?
I think the guys that most are questioning about are sort of the injured guys. So, you're looking at guys like, Eze, who's not getting minutes. Sorry, not playing rather than getting injured. But, we're waiting on Gabriel, as we've talked about. Malagusto is getting limited minutes at the moment with James's resurgence in form. So he's definitely one I'd be flicking. Harry Wilson, he is right at his ceiling. This is as good as it's going to get for Fulham. I can't see them moving forward. Watched quite a bit of their game over the course of the weekend and wasn't particularly impressed with what they came up with. And Wilson has been on a really hot run of form. I have to credit him for that. But, 1-0 against West Ham, it was late. Raul Jimenez getting the goal, but, there wasn't a lot to love about that game in full. Jared Bowen's another really interesting one. Sitting there at 7.9, West Ham have a fantastic run of fixtures, but have been playing dreadfully. So what do you look at there? Brighton, Wolves, Forest, Spurs, Sunderland. Like those are 5 games they'd probably be circling going, okay, they're all winnable and we can pull ourselves out of the relegation picture. He's probably an unlikely hold for me at the moment. If you've got him in, you're probably a bit of a risk taker in the first place, and he's still playing in an attacking enough position that I'd be moving forward with him. But out of the others, mate, most of them I'd be cutting ties with, to be honest. Jean-Paul Van Hecke, Brighton are moving the wrong way for me. He's been a fantastic hold. I got rid of him at about 9 mil. The fact he's continued climbing a further 2.5 is a great credit to him and Brighton. But yeah, he's very much at his ceiling. Chelsea's defence has been an absolute disaster over the last few weeks. So Chalobah is another one I'd be moving on. And I've already covered Eze. So, those are pretty much all covered. Out of the others in the top little bit, Mark Gay's probably the other one I'd be holding, mate. 8 mil. I know Palace haven't been in great form, but he's one of the highest scoring defenders over the course of the season. And if you've made the investment in him, I think he's going to climb in value again before he really drops off a cliff, even with that 22 break even this week.
Nicely summarised there, mate. Jared Bowen, love the bloke, gun footballer. Have not been interested in him all season. Reason being, West Ham suck, and yes. I can't go near him or anyone from them. I had one of their defenders earlier on in the season. I was just like, what am I doing here? Didn't age well. Harry Wilson, it's interesting what you say there, because he is someone that was on my radar a little bit this week. And again, because I'm probably not looking at it through a football expertise lens, I'm looking just hard at data and numbers. And you and I, you're going on eye test a lot because that's what you're good at. I'm going on numbers because that's what I'm good at when it comes to Supercoach. And we just look at players from a very different perspective. And Harry Wilson, as you said, I'm looking at his numbers going far out. He's been double digits in 5 of his last 6 games with the top of 31 against some reasonable opposition. But he's come into, as you said, a run against Palace, who defend pretty well, albeit they're on a bit of a downward spiral at the moment defensively. Liverpool, Chelsea, so it's a tough sort of stretch coming up. So, look, he's at pretty well peak price at 14 mil. He's got the high break even. So you're suggesting a no-go on Harry Wilson?
Or if you are really keen on him, just wait. I think you're going to be able to get him a little bit cheaper. Unless you're really keen to go for him, I can't see this incredible run, and it has been an incredible run, continuing over the next 3 weeks, certainly before we get sort of into the stretch of late January. I'd be urging a hold there, but certainly not pushing you away if you're still super keen on him in 3 or 4 game weeks' time.
Yeah, you'll definitely get him cheaper, that's for sure. It's not the time to buy when you're looking at break evens. I've just got Bruno Fernandes there and all that money, and as I'm trying to bolster my squad, but point taken, mate. Point taken. All righty. What do we got here? Most traded in players. We'll touch on a couple of them and probably mention a few around our trades as well. But you touched on Cherki before at Man City, mate. He's on a roll. $12 million. A break even of 1, so there's more money incoming, you'd have to imagine. Last 4 games, 25, 11, 15, and 24. Oh, the numbers are very hard to look past. I am a little bit concerned about rotation, but mate, when he's punching out numbers like that, even if there is a game where he plays 10 minutes off the bench or gets rested, it doesn't really matter. I don't really want to overinvest in City assets, but they're flying, mate, scoring goals for fun. Sunderland, Chelsea, Brighton to come the next 3 weeks. Man United, Wolves. It's a pretty decent run all in all. What are your thoughts?
Well, if you are going to invest in a City asset at the moment, he's the one. That's what I'd say. His output has been just as good as Foden's from a footballing perspective. He's going to create as many chances as Foden is. He probably won't be on the end of as many, but I still think there's a lot of if you can't get to Phil at this stage in the season, then he's a really good second option. And you're right, the rotation risk is there. I just can't see any midfielders of high value at the moment, Tim. When you're talking about going to Harry Wilson, like this guy is the better option.
Yeah, okay.
Like that's basically the reason I'm pushing for him so hard. Is midfielders have been really, really difficult to nail this year. And he's the one at the moment that I look at and go, yeah, he's going to be a consistent performer for you over the next month or 2.
I'm trying to get on the point of difference bandwagon a little bit and just try and differentiate my side a little bit. I've got a few in there, but as you said, sometimes, mate, it's there in front of you. It's too obvious, and the dumb plays to go against the obvious option. And in this instance, that's probably it. Mate, Ryan Gravenberch for Liverpool. He's sort of up and down. He has his moments. He's had a good last month, 17, 5, 10, and 10. But, mate, his 17 came against the Wolves. I reckon I'd score against the Wolves if I was put up front. So, again, another solid buy. The price is okay. Upcoming. Leeds this week's a good fixture. There'll be about 12 goals in that game.
Yep.
Fulham, Arsenal, Burnley. So the draw's not too bad to come. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, his form rises with Liverpool's, and when theirs falls, his falls. It's the function of the position he plays. He actually records a fairly decent number of base stats. So if you're looking for a safe option in there, he's not the worst. But there are guys with bigger upside out there. He's very much a safe play pick if you're looking to go that way at the moment.
Yeah, he's a boring option in my eyes. And as you said, I'm looking for ceiling. I'm looking for that big score. And, Cherki, as we know, he's got it. Martin Odegaard in my side at the moment. Mate, the biggest thing for him, he's played 90 minutes in 4 of his last 5 games, or 88 in one of them against Everton. But fitness has been key. We know what a Supercoach weapon he is when he's fit. As it stands, he is. $6 million. He's got that low break even of -5. Yes, there's always going to be resting and minutes risk with him, but I mean, for that price, he's pretty hard to go past, right?
Yeah, very much so. I've talked about how much in admiration of him I have been all year, all season before when Arsenal are really playing at the top of their game. You saw that with a goal on the weekend. He's very much at the heart of things. Now, that was gifted to him, but then he continued to prompt and probe and really give Brighton more issues than anybody else in that Arsenal setup going forward. He and Bukayo Saka are at the heart of everything they do. And, yeah, you are not going to get him at a better price. If there's a midfielder you're looking to move out, I'm sort of looking at Emile Smith-Rowe and Bruno Guimaraes in my team at the moment and going, Odegaard's sneaking up there. I've still got a couple more weeks before I need to make that move, given where those guys' prices are at the moment. But even at Dominic Szoboszlai, if his injury problems continue, Odegaard could be a very nice replacement later in the year.
You look a bit like Odegaard, mate. Has anyone ever told you that?
No, I haven't had that, but I'll take it.
Similar hairdo and all. So, I mean, you'll get worse doppelgangers. So.
If only I'd been signed by Real Madrid at 16, Timmy. That would have been nice.
Then we wouldn't have you for the podcast, mate.
No, that's a good point.
The punters are the winners here. Last one on this list, Cole Palm is the fourth most traded in, 7.7 million. Again, when fit and firing, one of the best assets in the game, can be a bit hot and cold. He has come back from injury to minutes of 72, 79, 58, 58. So he's building into it. Chelsea, again, a bit hot and cold. A run to come, Bournemouth, Man City, Fulham, Brentford. The price is good. The upside's there. The minutes are a concern. Resting is a concern. Injuries are a concern. What are your thoughts?
Just wait. Just wait with Cole. He's not going anywhere too quick. And as we've seen, injuries are going to hit guys at different stages of the season. Chelsea's form has really not been great over the last 2 weeks. So they did play Aston Villa off the park for 60 minutes of that game on the weekend before absolutely bottling it. The run is a little bit tricky for them with City in 2 weeks as well. I'd sit, wait, see where he is, see the amount of minutes he's getting, see the price he's at. Just give yourselves a couple more weeks information with Cole. I think we've been saying that the last couple. I'm still of that view very much with him.
All righty. And I mean, in terms of the traded outs, Bruno Fernandes injured, Jack Grealish. I'm a Grealish owner, and
you've held on this long, Timmy.
I've still had him, yeah. I had Dewsbury Hall for ages as well, and I think I was a bit conscious of trades, and I'm hoping there's going to be some double game week sort of options later on with fixture swings and all sorts of things, and I want to go hard then. We know injuries are so prevalent in the game, so yeah, I think just for that I held a few players and I ended up selling Dewsbury Hall for a fantastic price. So after a tough period, that paid off. Grealish, I don't know, I know the scores aren't the best, but I just feel like every time I wake up of a Sunday morning and watch the highlights packages and all that he's so close from just exploding again. He's a decent little price. And I just don't think there's been a lot of great options in the midfield. No. And he's kind of just sat there as my reserve and play him on decent matchups. So I've still got Grealish, but mate, was there anyone else you wanted to touch on in terms of, I know, there's interest around Thiago, Voltemade, you said. Anyone else you want to touch on before we get to our trades and skippers?
Well, the main reason they are of interest to him is because this guy, Matheus Cunha, has suddenly got a very good run going at Manchester United. He's taken on his old club Wolves this week, who he scored against when they played, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks ago. We've got a bit of an NRL problem in the EPL at the moment where teams playing each other twice within the space of a month and different funny little things like that. But Cunha is now taking on that added responsibility with Fernandes out of United's team, with Mbeumo away at AFCON. Yes, he's got a break-even of 10, but he's coming in at 10 mil. And when you're looking at forwards that could really go gangbusters over the next 3 or 4 weeks, he's probably top of the list for me. And that's the reason I included Thiago and Voltemade in the rundown when I sent it to you, is because those are the guys that you may be looking to move on, particularly if you have built a little bit of a bank. There's not too many players, particularly towards the top at the moment, that are really too worried about cash. And if you can afford a $3 million, $4 million upgrade with one of those guys at the moment, Cunha is the man to get in. They've got Wolves, Leeds, Burnley over the next few weeks, and that could really lead you to exploding up the standings. He's not highly owned at the moment. He's someone that's, I think, a fantastic player and is now going to be given that responsibility that he's been looking for since the move to United. It hasn't exploded yet, but I think that could be coming, particularly, you just want to be targeting guys, particularly up front, when Wolves are playing at the moment. And so there was another interesting tweet, a thought that was put out there by a popular FPL player, FPL Nightmare. You can find him on Twitter. If you go Ekitike to Voltemade in game week 21, to João Pedro in game week 23, then back to Igor Thiago from 28 to game week 30, your striker fixture run would be Wolves, Leeds, Fulham, Leeds, Wolves, Palace, West Ham, Wolves, Leeds, Burnley, Bournemouth, Wolves. Now, that could be getting way, way, way ahead of myself, but there's a different way to think about things at the moment. I'm not moving Voltemade for that reason this week. I'll get to my trades in a minute, but I think there could be a combination of players there alongside Holland up front that could really get you going over the next sort of 9, 10 weeks.
That is some elite planning from the big fella, and I will be looking into that with a few trades in the bank. Alrighty, mate, that segues nicely into our trade and skipper plans for the week. What are you thinking?
So the one I've locked in already is Dorgu. We talked about him quickly. Michael Senesi's been hanging around to me for Bournemouth there. Dismal display against who were they playing on the weekend? Brentford. That's the B team I was looking for.
Yeah.
So he's out, Dorgu in. The second one I'm thinking about is Morgan Rogers out, with Villa having a very tough run. I think he may have reached his ceiling up front, and Mateus Cunha in. I'm still sitting on that one at the moment, but the more we edge towards the game week beginning tomorrow morning, Timmy, I'm thinking I'm going to make that trade and make it a 2-trade week.
Mateus Cunha, you heard it here first from Molchi, set to explode and turn seasons on their heads. Mate, I'm holding Senesi. I think he's the gift that keeps on giving. Again, one that, we've got 5 defenders to play with. I think a lot of us are carrying like a formation of, 3 at the back. Some are doing 4, but I've certainly got 3 at the moment. So you don't need to play him every week, but mate, they can get pounded and he still scores well, that fella. Very, Jags, plenty of attack, just a lot of involvement. He does well. So I'm holding Senesi. Granted, I have some other injury concerns to deal with. So for myself, I'll be going burn out Dorgu in. And I think you've convinced me. It's boring, and I do need to start to differentiate my team. But maybe that's where Jack Grealish comes in. But Bruno Fernandes to Cherki, gone very heavy on City assets. However, I am prepared for restings with my whole team will be fit and firing and ready to go to cover that with a bit of luck. And what about your skippers for the week?
So bringing Dorgu and Cunha in, it'll be one of them getting the VC. I'm hoping so. This is going to be a tricky little loop option here. So either Calafiori or Szoboszlai providing that loop option, depending on which of them is rested. And then I'm hoping that gets me to the City output where I can have Haaland as captain and give myself a double chance there. Sorry, Timmy.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. I've got a few. My trades will be impacted by loops and what sort of goes on, but I've got the captaincy on Ekitike against Leeds at the moment. Reluctantly probably going to pot Haaland this week and go against him.
Okay.
Well, I think I have to because of my loops if I want to go Ekitike.
Yeah,
and
right.
I like Ekitike at Anfield against Leeds more. So I'm going to captain Ekitike, which means I'll have to put a VC on someone like Odegaard or Rice or an Arsenal asset, I'd imagine. So that's the way we're leaning. Dorgu against the Wolves, coming off 30. Maybe he could be a cheeky little VC play. Mulchi, that will do us for the EPL podcast for this week. Thanks for having me, I suppose. I've gone into sort of host mode, but you're the host of this show, so thanks for having me on board.
Well, thanks for allowing me to just get some shots away, Timmy. Bit of Bazball on the EPL podcast this week. It's been good, and we'll be back on Friday with Matty Yerman to take you through the weekend's action.
Beauty. Good stuff, mate. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And the boys will see you next round.